Hello. Hi, this is Deborah J from deborahjkelly.com. I am an holistic therapist, a holistic astrologer. I am an intuitive, a coach, a guide, all of the above. And today I wanted to make a video on you can't fix what's not broken. And this is something that I see with my clients all the time, and actually really is what began me on my own particular journey to what I'm doing now today as an holistic therapist, holistic intuitive. And to be honest with you, it was a bumpy journey for me, and it took me a long time to realize it. And a lot of the work that I do now is really to help people see the same thing in themselves. So what I want to do is just to kind of describe a little bit of my own journey, how I got here, what it is that's causing us so much pain, and how we can begin to resolve and fix that. So I, for years, really honestly thought I was just broken. I was like, I'm just like a dud of a human. I was born, no matter what I did, I just couldn't seem to relieve the pain that I had emotionally, that I would kind of like default back into. It was like I had kind of like default factory settings on feeling. I was never clinically diagnosed as being depressed, but I most definitely suffered from it. I often didn't want to be here. I like physically was like, what is the point in me being here? I don't get this. It's too hard. I am an empath. So for those of you who are empathic or sensitive people, you'll know that energetically you feel everything that's going on in the world. If somebody's in a bad mood, you feel that bad mood. If they're in a good mood, you feel that good mood. If the collective is in pain and suffering, you feel that in your body and in your soul. And it can be really, really challenging to separate like what's mine and what's not mine. And to be honest with you, for a very long time, that never even entered my mind to think about like what's my energy and what's other people's energy. That just never came into my mind. I started doing mediumship work about a year ago. I don't offer kind of publicly, but I use it whenever it needs to and comes up. And one of the first things I realized was like, oh my God, there's so much information that I've been kind of receiving for years that I would have thought like, oh, that's my ache or pain, or that's my mood, or that's my thought process. And since doing the mediumship, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff that is not even my own. That is like information that's been like passing through, I'm just kind of picking up on. And that might seem strange when this is not a language that we're used to hearing or speaking, but oh my God, it's so true, and it's crazy and bizarre. And I have to admit that getting to the point that I'm at now, speaking how I speak in textures and shapes and colors, and very intuitive and kind of descriptive, creative speak, it took me a long time. I didn't speak like this all the time. I didn't speak intuitively. I didn't speak my fields. And it took me a long time to feel okay with being able to speak like that, because I didn't know that I could do it, first of all. But I always felt judged, always felt kind of like, you know, what I say is not right, or it's wrong, or I'm incorrect, or I'm a bad person, or all these kind of programs from when I was younger. I was bullied quite badly in school. I was sexually abused when I was 4. And I struggled in a lot of having, you know, relationships or connections with people, because my boundaries had been so badly crossed as a child through the years. And to be honest with you, this was all just very normal for me. I didn't know that any of this was a thing at the time. I just knew, all I knew throughout my life was I was prone to feeling very alone, very much in pain, very isolated, like I didn't fit in, and like I was just different somehow. And I felt that me being different and not being able to fit in and make friends the way that other people would, I often felt that there was something wrong with me, and these are all the parts that I was kind of trying to fix, you know. So something in life would happen and it would just floor me, and it would take me out, and I would beat on myself. I would really, really, really beat myself up. And if there was something that I was really skilled at, it was really taking things out on myself. I was amazing at being really hard on myself. And nobody ever needed to be hard on me, because I was doing the job for myself. And so I suppose what I was trying to do was I was trying to fix these parts of me. And eventually in 2015, 2016, my life totally fell apart. I was engaged to be married to the love of my life, and discovered he was living a whole other life. He had a lot of sex addiction, porn addiction issues. There was lots of crazy stuff going on there. My dad passed away very reasonably suddenly, and literally, and my job was really, really stressful. And literally it was like my whole life just totally fell apart. I was like, oh my God, like I just have no point in being here anymore. Everything had just been taken away from me. And at the time it was horrendous. I remember literally lying in my bed being like, okay, if this is how you go, take me. Like, I'm ready, I'm happy to leave. I even remember looking up various different methods of the easiest way to leave here. And so I'm not saying this to be all like deep and heavy and harsh, but I'm just saying that like these feelings are real, these feelings of not belonging, of not feeling like we fit in, of not being able to cope with life, not being able to navigate our own life, like not being able to like be in our life in a way that feels like, you know, it's functional and practical and fulfilling. That's a huge thing for a human being, you know, to have a fulfilling life. And so essentially what I did was I headed off traveling, and it was when I took myself out of my current environment. I took myself away from friends, from family, from work, from absolutely everything that was familiar to me, and I plonked myself in the world of travel. I went solo travel around the world by myself. And when I did this, what I realized when I wasn't surrounded by the programming that I had been constantly surrounded by. So that means TV, news, newspapers, magazines, social media, friends, family, work colleagues, work itself, you know, life, the normal everyday life. When I wasn't in that anymore, and didn't have access to a lot of that stuff as you're traveling, I suddenly, in the silence of less of that chaos, I suddenly began to observe myself. And I remember being like, whoa, I'm not doing all the things that I thought when I go traveling. I'd like go to museums, and I'd like be on the, you know, be on the batter all the time, like be drinking all the time and partying all the time. And I thought that I'd be like out meeting lots of people and doing lots of like crazy stuff. Like I was free now, I was single again, I was going to go out and just be like, you know, young single person again. And I really thought that that's what I would do, because my life up until that point was going out with friends and partying, and, you know, partying hard. And I would go where they wanted to go, and I would do what they wanted to do, and their interests were my interests. And I found with my friendships at the time that I would always kind of do whatever they wanted to do, because I was very flexible and adaptable and easygoing. But any time that I ever really had a need for myself, or I wanted to do something and look for company, it never seemed to be reciprocated. So it was always like whenever I had needs and I was asking my friends to meet them, it would never really happen. But it was always okay for me to meet their needs. And when I was traveling, I realized first and foremost that all the things that I was interested in doing, because I wasn't being influenced by other people's interests and thoughts and ideas, it was just me on my own making my own decisions. I realized, I was like, oh wow, like without all this noise and influence, I'm actually having to make my own decisions about what I want to do. And what I ended up doing was completely different. I ended up not partying all the time. I spent most of my money on traveling to jungles, climbing volcanoes, seeking out the wild spaces, sitting and being with nature, doing crazy kind of things. Like I did ayahuasca, I did an internship in ethnobotany, Mayan cosmology and herbology in Colombia. I did herbal medicine in Scotland, an apprenticeship. I ended up studying herbal medicine in every country I went to. I studied reflexology and acupressure. I did a month of Vipassana in India, which was just like, totally opened up that's like a whole video by itself. and meditation. I learned meditation, and what I ended up doing was I went around the world collecting healing modalities and wisdom and information and concepts and ideas, and I constantly unfolded into my authentic self. And I got to see how I interacted with other people. And I discovered that when I interacted with new people just on my own, I was able to be in these beautiful, deep conversations and light conversations with the most interesting people I have ever met, the most inspiring people I ever met. And then previous to that, when I was at home here in Dublin and would go out with friends, my best friend would often say to me, like, oh, come away from the corner, you're annoying that person, like, you know, you're boring them with your deep chat. And I would feel horrendous. I'd be like, oh my God, I just bored this human for 3 hours, like, and they don't even want to talk to me, because I would believe my friend at the time that that's what was happening, because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust who I was. I didn't trust my own opinions of myself. I essentially handed over all my power and allowed everybody else in my world to tell me who I was really as a human being, and not for me to know that myself. So when somebody said to me, oh, you're being too intense and too sensitive and too deep, and all these, you're being too, I took them as gospel. I was like, oh my God, I'm just a really horrible person to be around. Like, I'm too much, like, I'm just too much. And I believed that. I really, really believed that. And there are times still to this day that comes back a little bit, but I've done the work to recognize when it comes back. And really, it was only when I was traveling, I was like, oh my God, I'm not too much. I was told I was too much and believed it, but that's not actually the truth. These people can get up and leave anytime they want. And like, when somebody's telling you that you're too much and you're reading the situation incorrectly, what happens? You shut off your intuitive knowing. You question your intuitive knowing. So if you're having a lovely deep chat with somebody and it's amazing and it's insightful, and you're both like, you're both in the conversation with each other, and then somebody comes along and says, oh, stop doing that because you're boring the person, you automatically, if you've had wounding around it, question yourself and go, oh my God, how did I not see that? I'm so sorry. And then you're really awkwardly like apologizing and like getting up and leaving and like letting them go, and it's weird. So I had who was my best friend at the time, spent quite a significant amount of time handing over my power and believing everything that she told me, because I just didn't know myself. I didn't feel qualified to be at the driver's seat of my own car. And I would literally sit at home and I would feel suicidal, because I would feel, how can somebody else know me so well and how can I not know myself as much? And how is it even possible that I can't see myself? Why don't I know how to live my own life? And this is what happens in narcissistic relationships, by the way, and toxic relationships, right? We are sensitive, intuitive, vulnerable, empathic beings, and we hand over our power because we don't trust ourselves. And at a very early age, it's likely that you had your boundaries stepped on, your intuition wasn't trusted, your instinctual reactions were repressed or stood on or not honored in some way, shape or form, or that you learned very early on in life that your voice didn't matter, or that you weren't good enough, or that there was something wrong with you, or that you weren't right. And these are all themes that essentially bring up then these feelings of like not knowing yourself and not knowing who you are. And so fast forward after my travels and having all that time to really, really go in and do the work, and peel off layer by layer all the different things all the different beliefs that I had about myself, all the beliefs that I had about myself, which came from other people's impressions of me, or their desires to have an impression of me, or their desire to control or manipulate. And I had to literally peel these off one by one, which was uncomfortable, but was also very liberating. It was like, oh my God, like so many aha moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe that that's how it's been. And the thing is, because there's like an energetic resonance in your body that says yes. So the work that I have come to do and the work that I do with my clients is to help them to reconnect back in with trusting their own intuition, trusting their own inner guidance, trusting their own inner wisdom. Because we have been conditioned to search for the answers outside ourselves, to search for a guru and search for a therapist and search for all these different people who are going to answer the questions that we have. And in all honesty, nobody can answer your questions but you, and nobody is qualified to answer your life questions except you. The only thing that other people should have for you is the ability to be a sounding board, the ability to mirror back and reflect to you things that you need to see inside yourself which you've disowned or that you now need to own, to reflect back to you parts of yourself which need to be healed. And it's not that these people have our answers, we have our answers. It's almost like these people were like sending out an energetic sonar, and these people are bouncing back the answers to us, and then we find those answers inside ourselves. This all sounds very complicated. It's actually not. The reason it sounds complicated is because we have totally given away our power, and we've lost the ability to intuitively know for ourselves what the truth is and what it's not. So the work that I do with women is essentially to bring them back into their intuitive selves, to help them reconnect with who they are, and then to give them the tools on how to navigate life's ups and downs in a more controlled, cohesive, centered and strong core center, operating kind of from here out. So like I do Reiki, and Reiki is just so beautiful for like unblocking and unclogging all the layers, the traumas, the emotions, and releasing that energy that we have stagnant in our body. It's like, like your hair. If you don't brush your hair and comb the knots out as they happen, you're going to have like really matted hair. And our emotions are the same. Our emotions, when we don't deal with them, we don't process them, they get caught up in our system, and then they kind of create tangles and knots and blocks and these feelings of like stagnancy and not being able to kind of get past certain things. So Reiki works with your energy system to help unlock and release and unblock all of that, and to bring you back into your body, to bring you back into center, so that you feel that you have the strength then to be able, and the resiliency to be able to cope with life. So that's one of the first things that Reiki does. I also use astrology to be able to show people their life path, to be able to imagine, like, I remember thinking to myself years ago, oh my God, I wish there was like a user's manual for life, right? There is. It's called astrology. And it's amazing, like your astrological natal chart can show you who you are, who you're not, why you're here, what your purpose is, what your soul mission is, what your unique talents are, what your strengths and wounds and weaknesses are, what your unique wounds are, which is a really amazing one to look at as well, the type of people that you tend to attract, and also the things that we need to heal within ourselves. So astrology is amazing for showing you the black and white print of who you are, not who you think you're supposed to be according to your external programming. And then I also do holistic life skills, which is basically showing you the tools that you can use to be able to like cope with life's ups and downs. So if we've got your core, if we've got you kind of feeling strong in your core, now when life throws something at you, we want to be able to learn how to interpret our experiences so that we can turn them into gold. So that when life happens to us and we go, oh, that's a repetitive pattern, that's been here before, what is that trying to tell me? Okay, that's actually reflecting this back into myself, and this is where now I need to work on that and release it and let it go. And then the different tools that you can use for yourself at home to be able to release it and let it go, or to be able to raise and shift your vibrations and frequencies so that you can release any trauma, release any emotions, release and learn how to process your emotions as well. Because we're not taught this. We're not taught how to process our emotions. We're not taught how to do anything of practical, real human use, really, when we're in school. I often say, if we look at nature, nature is the answers to everything. And if you look at nature, you'll see like the birds in the trees, like how do they get from being in an egg and really high up in a tree to flying and not like crashing to the ground and dying? And there are some birds that will crash to the ground and die, but the vast majority of them learn to fly by like jumping from the nest. And it's like it's in their DNA to know how to do that. That wisdom is already in their body. Like, how does a chick know how to like crack out of the egg? How does it know how to break out of the egg? How does it know how to feed from its mother when the mother is regurgitating food? How does it know how to fly out of the nest? How does it know where to find its food? It's instinctual, it's intuition, it's in their DNA, it's in their energy. It's in the collective energy of their species to know how to do these things. And humans are no different. We are no different, except we're not taught how to do this. We rely on TV and like courses and people and books and whatever to teach us how to do this. And that will get us so far. But what you want to do is you want to reactivate the energetic trust and rapport with your own self so that you can find your own answers. And that is one of the biggest skills that you can learn as a human, to learn how to answer your own questions, to learn how to interpret the experiences of your own life so that you can solve your own riddles, you can solve your own problems, and you no longer feel completely disempowered. Because there's nothing worse than to feel like, oh my God, this thing is happening again, and like pulling your hair out and like, why is this happening to me? And like, if we can learn how our life actually works, the energetics and the mechanics of how life works, and break that down into parts and understand it better, then we can service our own lives better. You know, years ago people had cars that they could fix, that had parts that were familiar. They lifted the bonnet, you could fix the car yourself, right? People were self-sufficient in being able to look after and maintain their own cars. Nowadays, everything is automated. It's pre-programmed into our cars, and so we can't fix it anymore. We have to bring it to a garage to be fixed. We need to move past that, right? We need to move past the day where we're just going to endlessly talk about our fears and our problems and our woes. And we need to get to the part of life where we're actively taking part in our own healing and becoming our own coach, becoming our own guru, becoming our own healer. We need to remember that we were born with all of these tools already. They are free inside you for you to access, but we've forgotten because we've relied on everybody else to tell us. So what we need to do is reactivate that and relearn how to become more self-sufficient in ourselves, so that we're more sovereign beings within ourselves, so that we are less reliant on external factors to be able to solve our own problems. So, you know, if in future, you know, you can't afford to go to a therapist, you can know how to do it for yourself. We're moving away from dependence on external systems to be able to hold and nurture us all the time, into self-soothing, self-healing, and self-sovereignty, and stepping into that power, remembering the gifts that we were born here with. You were literally born with everything that you needed. If you look at all the animals in the animal kingdom, they are all born with everything that they need. They're born with the right texture of fur to keep them warm, or the right texture of feathers to keep them like not feeling so hot. They are born with the ability to fly thousands of miles away so that they can migrate for a season. They are like, if you look at every single animal in the environment that it lives in, it is born with everything that it needs to survive. And like, humans should be no different, except we've become incredibly dependent on our external environment to keep us alive. And that is lies, and it's false, and it's not true. And we need to wake up to our own power, our own gifts, and we need to reawaken that in us. And that is the work that I do. You can see the passion. I'm like, come on people, let's wake up, right? So you can see the passion. If you're somebody who feels like you have been going around in circles, if you're feeling disempowered, if you're feeling like you're a victim of your own life, but you know that there's a way forward, if you have been like going to counselling and therapy and doing all the modern modalities to be able to fix something, but you can't seem to feel any better at the end of it, then have a chat with me, come talk to me, because I've been there. I totally understand that. And while there's, the mainstream healing modalities will take you so far, and for some people it will just be perfect and it'll suit them for their needs and that's it. But there's a huge majority of people who are in a much, their journey is much more intense, much more purpose driven, and much more seeking for fulfillment and something greater. They know that there's something greater that they're meant to be doing with their lives, and they just haven't figured it out yet. Then have a chat with me, because this is the work that I do. The work that I do is helping you to step out of those negative patterns, to reclaim your sovereignty, to reclaim your ability to be your own healer, to remember and reawaken all of those gifts that you were born with, and for you to be literally the hero of your own journey. You are the hero of your own journey. You might not feel like it, but you are, and I promise you are, because if I can do this, anybody can do this. I really mean that. I used to feel like I was the most broken, redundant waste of a human being, and like, what was the point of me being here? And now the work that I'm doing, I know the reason that I was meant to feel all those things was because in order for me to connect with you guys who feel that way, I needed to be able to understand that and resonate with that. And that's my mission and purpose, is to be able to show you and give you the tools on how to get out of that and start living your life. So how to move out of the stagnant, repetitive, dead-end energy, whether it's a physical illness or whether it's a relationship issue or whether it's emotional anxiety, stress, overwhelm, whether it is chronic insomnia, digestive issues, whether it's like persistent things that keep showing up in your life over and over and over again. Have a chat with me. Drop me a message on deborahjsoulnavigation@gmail.com. You can also check me out on Instagram or Facebook, Deborah J Soul Navigation, or just comment on this video below, and I'd love to have a chat with you, and I'd love to work with you as well. So I shall talk to you soon, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.